about everything that we've done to it. And now that we got it running, driving right, we're gonna start trying to pump out some videos and everything about the Jeep. Gonna try to do a tear down and repaint a lot of things that I've neglected. So we have, first we bought the Jeep bone stock, had some flat fenders on it at 33, so technically not stock, but pretty stock. And then I wheeled it like that for a while, had no issues. It actually went pretty much everywhere I could go, wanted to go, as long as I picked a good line. So ended up going a long arm with the stimulus check. I bought a Rusty's long arm kit, and we cut, put it on, and then as that went on, I ended up putting some 35s on it and wheeled it like that for a while. Well, then I got the bright idea, let's throw a Hemi in it, which has been great and has had some headaches because I don't know everything that I feel I should need to know to have this in here. So we threw a Hemi and a 545 RFE in it, and we put the Rubicon transfer case on the back of it. And now we have long arm, 3-inch lift 37s, P blocks with Data 44 still up under it. And RCVs up front because I couldn't hold U-joints with 35, so I knew with the Hemi and with 37s I would not be able to hold U-joint. So I went RCVs in the front. We did some Steinjager steering. Do not like it at all. The heim joints collect dirt all the time, constantly wears out. End up having to constantly replace joints. I wish I had went rock jock or something like that. Has not came out of the line, has not never bent, but the joints, they squeak and stuff like that. So we ended up going anti-rock after we went 37s. I drove a long time with no front sway bar on 35s. With the 37s and the extra weight of the Hemi, which is only about 50 to 80 more pounds, it swayed a lot. So we went anti-rock, that helped it. And actually anti-rock, when you're articulating, it will force the other side down to get more traction. So we ended up having to go, because we went anti-rock, we ended up having to go a moto-built front stubby bumper. Really like moto-built stuff. Like, everything is quality built, and I haven't had any issues with it. So we went stubby, went eBay skid plate. It's been solid. Like, it was $30 skid plate, had no issue. This winch, I've had it for 5 years. It has not gave out yet. It looks horrible now, but it hadn't gave out. These are eBay headlights. They were at the time like $60. They've been in here 5 years and they are still working, still bright. The turn signal actually it's orange, and it kind of isolates over. We ended up doing an external transmission cooler to try to keep everything cool. But the half diff cover was the cheapest thing I could afford at the time, and it, your pumpkin hardly ever gets hit up top, so ended up doing the half diff cover. I think it was better because it takes the impact instead of the whole shell, but now I kind of wish I had a solid cover or something like that, but it works like it should. So we did heim joints, RCVs, rock jock, skid plate on the power steering pump, moto built because of the anti-rock. Ended up doing a Genrite hood louver to try to help dissipate the heat and everything. I cannot feel any air out of this hood louver, so I don't know if it works or not. But we got 37 1350 Coopers with some Pro Comp bead locks, and the Coopers have hooked up. I had 33-inch Coopers, no issues, like hooked up solid. And then we did moto built, all the metal cloak with a 4-inch flare, and that was high clearance. The thing at the time, I wanted to go a little high so that I didn't have to cut my hood. the way these fenders are, the flare is actually higher than the inner line here. So your tires articulating up at an angle. So usually, I mean, I've never touched these fenders. So when you're articulating, the inside of the tire is on a downer slope, so it doesn't even touch the inside. We went Poison Spider rock sliders because I had found a deal on them, and I gave $200 for them. So I was able to cut right here and kind of match this, and then I cut right down the side to make the Poison Spider rock sliders work, to just save some more money. Then we went metal cloak in the rear, and these are the modded cut fenders, and I've actually cut more to clear the rear of the tires. So we also did the Rusty's spring relocation kit in the back, which I like this one because depending on how high your lift is, you have 4 different slots, 4 or 3 slots to pick from. And that helps you as you progress and change. You can change the angles of your springs. Ended up having to do some extended brake lines on the front to keep from, so we went braided on there. I did not do anything to the rear and have not had any issues at all, but we ended up putting a long arm from Rusty's on. I have had some squeaking issues with the joints. I'm constantly greasing and tightening in joints, but other than that, I haven't had anything fail or bend. We do have, for rocks lights, we do have light bars, and we have pods front and rear for lights. They were another set of eBay lights, and they've been on another 5 years and haven't had any issues with them. So we went Boiler XR1 exhaust, and we did some high flow cats, so we didn't have to smell that, but we're still running factory drive line up under here. Haven't had any issues with those either. I am needing to go a different shaft on the back. My splines are wearing on the back. The rear of the Jeep, we did a Barnes rear bumper. It was another Facebook find. We did an EMP rear gas tank skid because I completely bashed in the rear gas tank. We also went a half diff cover on the back too. So it was a pair for $80. So we went half diff cover. And we had to re-weld all the components on the rear end because I have jumped it a time or two and broke some mounts, but we ended up re-welding those and everything was good to go. Also in the rear, we ended up breaking the factory Rubicon locker. Come on, Bayla, get out of the way. Go sit. So we ended up breaking the factory Rubicon locker, and we ended up going Eaton E-locker. I have had no troubles with that locker at all. I actually had one of the safety pins break, and Eaton just sent me another one and let me keep the other locker. So there was nothing wrong with the other locker. It just, I noticed it while I was servicing the rear end, and they sent me a complete new locker. We ended up going factory 10 axles because I ended up popping one. They were factory axles on 37s, and they held for a while, but I ended up snapping one. So, I mean, factory 10 rear axles, and we haven't had any issues yet, and I give her the beans. We went with an eBay tail lights. Not a big fan of those at all. We ended up having, I have no way of seeing when I'm backing up. So with those, I would definitely go to Moto-Built and buy a set of good tail lights so that you can have some stuff. So the rear, we have a power tank back here, and we have a chainsaw mount that I'll show y'all in a minute. But we ended up putting a table on here. It was made out of a stop sign. It wasn't stolen, so. But when my buddy ended up making this for me so that we can throw some stuff on here. We're out on the trail, we need to eat or work on something. But so we've got the power tank back here. So I can just run a hose. I've got 2 hoses so I can reach all the way around. And then we have everything's dusty from our last ride, but we have the chainsaw mount. I took the power tank bracket and I cut it and made it fit to hold the chainsaw. And we take the strap and we run it under here and strap the chainsaw in so it doesn't bounce around or anything. Reason I ended up not using that because it would not fit the way I wanted to fit, so I bought a different bracket and put that back there. So when we did the Hemi, we ended up doing the 5.7 out of an 06 Grand Cherokee. They were within 200 miles of this body, and the other Grand Cherokee was within 200 miles of each other. So we was able to pretty much match the dash mileage on it, and everything's correct. So we ended up just cramming everything in here. So we got our AC condenser here, accumulator condensers up here, and we had to end up buying a pretty expensive radiator. So if you do a swap, make sure you buy a good radiator to run it so you can keep everything cool. We ended up doing a 545. We had to get a truck adapter to go on the back of the transmission so that we could fit the Rubicon case onto it. The Grand Cherokee adapter did not fit. So we did that adapter, threw the Rubicon case on it. So with the 6-speed of this transmission and that transfer case, 4-low it crawls like really good. We're running factory 410 gears in it. At 70, 75, I'm turning 16 to 1800 RPMs. So I don't see a reason to change. If we do break a ring and pinion or something, we may go to 456s, but I don't think we'll go that much higher just because of how everything works so good. Like, there was nothing wrong with this motor at all. I just wanted to go fast like Jeff Gordon. So we ended up throwing this in and had some custom lines made by our local auto parts store. And this right here actually serves no purpose, but I thought it would clean it up some and make it look a little better when you got the hood open. We ended up moving a locker pump up front. We do have a Eaton rear locker in the back because we ended up breaking a rear locker. So we only have an air locker up front. We've just made random brackets just to mount everything. For the Speedo, I did have hot wire, build to wiring harness, because I wanted all my gauges to work like they were factory at the time. Now everything's cut and changed. To me, it really doesn't matter. But all factory gauges work like they should. So we did have to put a Speedo hiller in to kind of make up for the 37s, to put the dash back. It's not completely right, but it's better than what it was. We ended up putting a Smitty built cage in. It does not connect to the floor, but it does add some stability to the cage. This cage ends at the windshield frame, so if you were to roll, the frames go into collapse. But with this mounted on the tub, it will slow it down some. It's not going to be as good as a welding cage, and we're going to weld them at one end, but it does help if something was to happen. So we threw a Smitty built cage in. A lot of people go rock hard and everything. I've seen rock hard and I've seen this, but I haven't. And to me, there's no differences in it. So this was a little cheaper. We also put all the cage supports even in the very back so that if we do roll, one of the tubes does not collapse on us. So we put the bar up top. Yes, it collects ducts. And then we put them around the sound bar. And we also went to the very back, and under the sunshade, we put a bar that connects to each side of the roll bar. So not only does that stiffen it up, that will help in a rollover situation. these two lights, this one's amber, and it's also clear. And then this one was a 7-inch round light. I bought these about the same time as everything else. This is an aux beam and this is an aux beam. They have not given up on us at all. So if you end up flipping the bottom, your amber comes on, which doesn't matter. I have toggle switches in here. And then I can flip this one and I get all three of them on. I get amber, clear, and the round light. Also, with all the light bars up under, flip it on, and then flip our amber and our other ones on. We end up with lights shining towards the front of the vehicle, so I can look out and I can see where this tire is going. Also have this one shining down, which is shining up, which is shining out, so I can see everything around. We have the rear shining back here so that I can see what the rear tire is doing at nighttime. A lot of people do the small lights and the eagle eyes and some KC highlights or whatever they're called, and they work great, but at the time, trying to save money, still trying to save money, so we've opted to do this option. I'm gonna knock this 7-inch light out. It's super bright. It's brighter than Daytona. So I was going to show the turn signals, how they alternate. So I wired them up so that they're both going the opposite way, which put the lights in that way. You can also turn that off and run a daytime running light. So that allows you to have a little strip there. So with everything being eBay lights, they actually work pretty dang good and they're really bright. So I have not complained on any of that at all. And we're pretty excited and glad that they're still kicking. So we're actually gonna buy some aux beams and put them on the 4Runner. I would love to go Baja Designs, but 150 bucks a light is ridiculous. I know they work good and they're well worth it, but can't afford to spend that kind of money.